All right, folks, so in today's demonstration, we're going to do a really quick refresher on this particular video. So one thing I realized last week when I was making that final video after class, and when I was watching the final product, I realized that the video in the background is really slow. And so we want things to move a lot faster than this. So see how she just kind of creeps down that? We want her to whip around that corner just a little bit faster. Now, it's really too late to go back and change the video in this composition. So I'm going to show you how to set the video up first and be able to adjust the timing of it or the speed of it, and then use it in your composition. So I'm going to go find that video, turn off these compositions, and in fact, I'm just going to start a new composition from footage. So I'll select this option, and I will go and find that video footage, and there it is. And I'll open it up, and I'll play it and see just how slow it is. We want to speed that up. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to it's going to take me a second to find it because I always forget where it's at. It might be. Okay, so with this MP4 file selected, or file layer selected, you'll go to Layer and go to Time and choose Enable Time Remapping. And so you can see here that there are keyframes for time remap. So you can see a time remap layer has been added. And then we've got keyframes. And so these keyframes are what speed up and slow down the entire video. So I'm just going to move this keyframe in. We want this to be about a 5-second long video anyway, because in those little vignettes that I shared with you, they were all about 5 seconds long. So just by doing that, let it kind of render through really quick. Still seems slow to me. I'm going to speed that up a little bit more. And I'm also going to shore up the video part of it to end at the 3-second mark, as well as the composition. So the duration up here, I'm going to lower that to about 3 seconds. Where's my first keyframe? Hold on a second, let me undo this. Somehow I've lost my first keyframe. All right, I'm going to move this keyframe in to 5. Bring the visibility into that as well, and now play it. And now she moves a lot faster. Somehow I did something with my first keyframe. All right, and so now we just have blank space. So because this composition is 10 seconds long. So I just shorten the visibility, and I'm also going to shorten the duration by just dragging this inward. Now hit the space key, and now she moves at a much faster pace. All right, and now that I've done that, I can add some type to this. So I'm just going to, make everything, really make sure everything's shored up well, I'll go to Composition, Composition Settings, and I'm going to remember that this one is Lombard HD5 because it's my 5th version of this. And I'm going to make sure that it's set for 5 seconds. and click OK. Now we are good to go. So I'm going to use this in a new, actually I'm just going to add to this composition. So I'm going to add the type element. So I'm going to get the type tool and just click over here in my window, and I like all caps for this, so I'll do cycle. And right now you can barely see my word because it's about the same color as the pavement. And I'm going to put this, oops, I got to get it out of, turn off the caps lock. And I'm going to put this in 3D mode. So we're going to have a little bit more practice with this for a second. And I'm going to use my selection tool and rotate this on the y-axis. And I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis to kind of lay it down, try and get it in the perspective of the road. And I'm going to move it on the y-axis to bring it closer, and the x-axis to get it in view. I also need to bring my playhead all the way to the beginning to make sure that I really am lining this up correctly to where it needs to be at the beginning of my animation or my video. So right now I'm just using this rotation gizmo to get my type in place. And then we also, I might make my type size a little bit bigger. So I'll scrub through here and make it's this, I haven't put it, well, I did put it, it's right, this little cube right here. You see where I'm circling with my cursor? There is a column beneath that with a box. If you check that box, it puts it in 3D mode.
Oh, 3D layer.
Yeah. Yeah, 3D layer. Got it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a path on this layer that's going to be a mask for this type. And when I say mask for the type, I don't mean that it's going to cover the type up. I mean that the type is going to adhere to that path. Excuse me, because there is a subtle curve to this wrought iron fencing at the bottom, and we want that, and also there's curvature to the brick pattern, so we want that word to kind of curve along with that. That's really going to create that illusion that it is a part of the pavement. I'll lay that down just a little bit more. And I'm going to, with this layer selected, I'm going to get my pen tool, and I'm going to click and drag right here to create a curved anchor point, and then I'm going to click and hold and drag right here to create another curved anchor point. I'm going to switch tools to edit the path. So do not edit your path with the pen tool. Remember, that's just for drawing paths. So now you're going to go to the selection tool, and you're going to grab these directional handles, and you're going to kind of bow it down, get it kind of nice and more conform to the slight curvature of that wrought iron fencing. And then we're going to open our type layer. And where it says text, path options, right now the path has no options applied to it. It's just a path. But if you click this drop-down menu and choose mask, now our type has adhered to the mask, or the path, which is now the mask. So if I bow it, you can see the type moves with it. So you can kind of reposition it however you need to. So I think it looks pretty good. And you want to make sure that you have your mode section available to you. And for mode, we want to choose darken. Wait a minute. Wrong thing. I did it for the wrong layer. We're going to do that. Oh, we need to add an effect to the type too. So we want this to look like it's embossed in the brick. So for this, we're not going to find, I don't think we're going to find what we're looking for here. You know, our little quick on the fly, you know, animation features that we can add. I don't see what we're looking for here. So we're going to go to a different location. We're going to go to a layer, and let's go to layer styles, and we're going to go to, I'm just looking at all the options. We can do bevel and emboss and inner shadow. I think inner shadow, not drop shadow, sorry. Totally selected the wrong one. Layer styles, inner shadow. And we also need to change that mode. Go to my computer. And that's okay. Do what you gotta do, man. And I'm going to also, let's try to apply bevel and emboss too. I don't know why I don't have a mode option for that to darken it, which is really frustrating to me. Okay, so I just recreated this because I have no idea why I didn't have the mode option. Before it was set to normal, so you can see my word, cycle. And I have the mode option available right here. And so I chose darken, which puts it in the texture of the brick. The trick is will I be able to rotate it after I do this? And it appears to let me, but it seems to have taken my type back to what it was. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but I'll get it figured out. So I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to rotate it. Okay, and Khalil, you just had that question, so I'm doing it again. I'm going to get the pen tool. I'm going to add, make sure my playhead's all the way at the beginning. I'm going to add a anchor point here, click and drag, add one here, click and drag, and I'm doing this on the type layer. That's very important. And then after I do that, I'm going to open the text options and go to its path options and choose mask. And that will attach the type to the mask or to the path. And then I can pick up the path and place it and really position the type closer to that wrought iron. Okay, and now I'm going to add just an inner shadow to this layer. So I'll select that and go to Layer, Layer Styles, inner shadow. Didn't darken it. The what? Uh-huh. Multiply. Let's try that. Right here. Yeah, and I don't know why, previously I had this mode right here that I could set and to darken, but it's not when I put it in 3D mode, it canceled that out and took it back to this texture. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong, but I'm just going to ignore it and go on. Because in the other video it works fine. I can't even really get my shadow to do much. I have no idea if it's a problem on my computer or like I see no changes being applied to this shadow at all whatsoever. So anyway, I'm just going to have, the show must go on. I have no idea why this is different from the previous examples. But I'm going to add a null object. So now for the animating part. So I'm going to go to Layer, New, and choose Null Object. And there's the null object. And then I'm going to attach the cycle or the type layer to the null. And then we're going to animate the scale of the word to move with the motion of the video in the background. So I'm going to open that null object and go to its transform properties. And I'm going to make sure that my playhead is all the way at the beginning of the timeline. And I'm going to set a keyframe for scale. And so this is where I want my type to be at the very beginning of the animation. And I'm looking for some landmarks in this image to know where I want to animate my type back to. So I'm looking closely at things like, where these type elements line up to certain structures in this brick pattern. So like I know I want the top of the E to line up with this darker little striation of brick. So that's a good landmark for me. I'm also looking at where the kind of the C lines up and in relationship to the base of the, or to the top of this wrought iron fencing. So these are just landmarks that I'm going to plan to scale back to. Now I'm going to move my playhead. Notice as I move my playhead, the video is moving in the background, but the type is actually staying in the exact same place because it's the same size. So by the 4-second mark, I would like, or almost 4-second mark, right after she disappears, I want that type to be animated all the way back to the fence line. And so to do that, I'm just going to scale it back, just like this. And make sure that that E, the top of it, lines up with that striation. These are just my landmarks. Yours will look different. And make sure that the C looks like it's, close to where it needs to be. And then I'll bring my playhead back to the beginning and watch it play out. It's got to render through really quick. There we go. Did that work for you, Kim? Okay, let me come check it out. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of this demonstration. So if you have any questions about this particular file and animating the type, don't watch this video. I mean, go back and watch the ones from Thursday, because I have no idea what happened to my type in this one, why I can't get it to look like or have it keep that texture of the brick. So anyway, this is garbage. If I could rip it out and wad it up in a ball, throw it in a trash can, I would. Now let's move on. So I'm going to close these compositions. And I'm going to create a new one. So new composition from footage, since we're working with footage. And I'm going to go to Pan Bridge HD MP4. And here we are. All right. So we want to add some type to this that actually looks like it participates in this environment. It's a part of it. It's going to be animated. And we've got to animate it in a way where it turns with the camera angles of this video. All right. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, and it's not going to be something that you can do just through the transformation properties of the layer for the type. So you're going to have to use like a camera tracker for that. So this is a new kind of thing that we're exploring today. So you want to make sure that this is selected, the video layer, and you're going to control click, and you're going to look for track and stabilize. And I'm going to use track camera. And when you first do this, you're going to see this little banner pop up. It's going to say analyzing in background. And it's just going to do its thing. Up here in the project window, it's going to run through some numbers. I don't know what all that stuff means, but it's tracking the different points and angles in this footage. So the position of the camera and how it rotates and how it changes perspective. It's going to take a minute to do this. But when it's all said and done, it's going to produce these little stars in different places, all around this image. And we're going to use those to set up a field that our type is going to live in that's going to be more responsive to these camera angles when we rotate it. When we rotate it and animate it down the road. It is control click, track camera. So track and stabilize and track camera. Okay, so I've opened my effect, and it's just an effect that gets applied. So I have opened my effect, it says 3D camera tracker, and now you can see all these little stars. Okay, and so these are just different angles that were tracked, through this filter. And what we want to do is we want to create type that's going to follow this camera angle. So we have to create a field that it's going to exist in. So what we're going to do is we're going to select these stars. I'll have to sit at my computer for this part because you're going to need to hold the shift key down. And my goal is to select stars that are at the street level. Shoot, hang on a second. And so I'm not going off into the grass because I don't want that to be part of the field. There's some way off in here. So I've got all that selected. This is going to be my camera tracking fields. And then I'm going to shift click on any of these selected stars. I'm sorry, control click. And I'm going to choose create text in camera. So this is going to be a different way to create text besides just going for the text tool and clicking and typing. So now you can see we've got 3D tracker camera and then a text layer on top of that. And I'm going to type by, I'm going to do it in all caps. It's hard to see that you're actually typing letters. I'm going to create the word by the sea. So it's actually there, but it's laying flat on the ground. And as soon as you get your selection tool, you will see a rotation gizmo. So, oops, let me do that. Oh, you got to get it out of all caps too. Always forget that. I need more of my timeline so I can see what's going on. I don't know how to fix that. So I'm going to bring my playhead all the way to the beginning and start to position my type. So I'm going to try and lift it up, stand it up, rotate it. Definitely need to change the color of it and the size. So I'm moving it on the X, the Y, the Z axis, everything I need to do to get it in the right perspective. And it's really hard to see. So I'm going to change the color of it. So I have my type selected. I'll go over here to the fill box. Choose a white. And I'm going to put it in 3D mode. It's already in 3D mode, so let's expand it and go to geometry options and extrude it to make it look more three-dimensional. And I'm going to move it farther up the road. I want it to start out like it's racing the racer that's going to come flying in. Make it taller too. How's that working for everybody? Have you guys gotten your type in 3D mode? Alright, I'll come around and check on everybody and see if I can help you. I'm also going to lower the opacity of this. We want it to be a little bit see-through. And that might be through material options. Maybe not. Transform. There we go. Opacity. And you can also do some things like with the material options as far as lighting goes to kind of make it look a little more three-dimensional in ways just by changing the lighting. No, I'm trying to get it all white, but I've dragged it too far in one direction. And I'm just kind of playing around with the appearance. Cast shadows, but that made it invisible altogether. Alright, I'm going to pause this and see how everybody's doing, and then we will move on. Okay, so I think I've got the type looking the way I want it. And I know some people are still kind of struggling. I just took a time out and walked around. Some people are still kind of struggling with getting their type created or getting it in 3D or getting the track camera feature on there. So just remember, this video will be available later this afternoon, and you can just go through this step by step, take it at your own pace.
Like around 6?
And yep, around 6. That's the magic time for Mr. Gonzalez.
I'm about to have dinner and then go help dishes and then go do homework.
And then go do some homework. Well, it'll be there waiting for you. Yes, sir. You know it.
Can't even work on an empty stomach for 2 days.
Nope. Sure can't. So let's animate this. All right. So we're going to run through this really quick and see what's going on. So there goes our biker, and there sits our type as we just roll right over it. You can see I need to kind of rotate this a little bit, get a little bit straighter with the road. All right. So this is where my type is going to be at the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my type layer, and I'm going to look at my transform properties, and I'm going to hit position, and let's just do orientation. And so I've got keyframes set up for the position at the very beginning of the timeline for position and orientation. And now I'm going to scrub through, and I'm watching the biker run alongside the type. That looks pretty good for right now. The type is going to start to lose its alignment with the road as soon as the camera angle changes. So now you can see that it's kind of going a little bit at an angle. So we're going to start to reset the position and the orientation. So let's just try going straight to the end of the video. Let's try it this way. You could do it 2 different ways, really. One is you could slowly animate it along the timeline. One is you can go from A to B and then kind of smooth out the wrinkles in between. So I'm going to move my type all the way down the road. And it's tracking pretty well. Bring my playhead back and see how that works. And it's going to take a second to render. I can hear my fan kick on, so my computer might burst into flames here in a second, but I'm going to let it render through. I want to see what's going on with it before I decide what needs to go back and be fine-tuned. So I can see it's losing its alignment with the road down here, so I need to go back at the other end and kind of correct that. And I might might even slow down its movement, because I don't like the fact that it all disappears before the Viking gets out of the way. So let's see how we can hem that up. So its keyframe, I'm going to open this up. For position is way down here. I'm going to bring that back a little bit and see what that looks like. Dang, this thing is so slow. Alright. I'm going to take out this keyframe. And start it right as the runner gets into the scene. If I can find that spot. So I'm going to let it sit still for a second till the runner gets there, and then I'm going to let it move down the road and catch up with the runner. So it's not one of those things that you get right in the first pass. So be prepared to go back and undo things and kind of fine tune it. Like here, I need to rotate it a little bit more and maybe sit it back on the line a little bit more. And by the end, have it go on down the road. And maybe even scale it. I haven't, well, I don't know. Scaling gets tricky because you have 3 different variables for that, so I might not mess with the scaling right now. You'd have to probably do that with a null object. So I'm going to deselect everything and let this render through. Also, one thing that I could do to the type to make it more compact and be seen better, in the scene, is just to change the tracking, between each letter. So you can do that in the type window and just bring those characters closer together. And it really kind of takes off right there toward the end, but I can change that just by adjusting the, the keyframes. So. Oops. And then I want to add sound to this. I'll add my sea wave sound. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I want to put all 3 of these little vignettes into one composition. So we see 3 little mini movies, one after another. And so we're going to create a final composition. I'm going to close this. close this, close this. And just call this one Mini Movies. And maybe give it a duration of, let's say, 15 seconds. Here we go. And I'm going to go and find my comps. I've got a ton of them. So here's my type above water. I'll put that in the scene. Boom, there it is. Let's test it out. It's got to render through. And then its visibility is going to stop right about here because it's only about 5-6 seconds long. All right, and then I'm going to add another composition. So there's this one. So I'll add Zoom Lombard. And I don't want those to play at the same time. So Zoom Lombard is going to have to go, it's going to have to be dragged down in the timeline to pick up as the first one ends. And you could do some interesting little transitions in between the two. And I think I need to increase the size of my composition now, so let's do 20 seconds. I can tell I won't have enough room for the third one. And now I'm going to go find my third composition. And drag it over. That was not the right one. Pan bridge. Where is my pan bridge one? Oh, it's here. One of these. And I'll add pan bridge to this. Right, I added the wrong damn one. Okay, and then pan bridge will be at the end of this. Sometimes I just get too many compositions open and then I get all lost. All right. So here's the pan bridge, and it's going to go at the end. So now we have 3 mini movies in one composition. And then it just loops around. So, you guys are ready for your next assignment here. And that will be, so Thursday will be a work day. All right. And you guys are going to be animating type with sound and visual effects. So here are the assignment instructions. So you'll basically create 3 mini movies that you'll put together in one composition. Feel free to add any kind of transition that you want between the mini movies. You could experiment even with maybe fading out one composition and, having another, or have them overlap where one fades out and the other one fades in, or they could just go to black, or it could go just from one and just snap to the next one. But feel free to take some creative license with the transitions if you'd like. But this is a great, project for just, creating these little vignettes that all live in one composition and working with, multiple timeline layers. So you got to animate type with sound, so they all have to align or relate to each other contextually. And then you need to find some sort of a video file that you will use as your background image. Yeah, a video file. So a great place to find video files is a site called Pexels. P-E-X, I think is how you say it. Pexels Videos. So it's free videos, and they're just little snippets. It's really not anything more than what you would need for these little vignettes. So just kind of explore them. You can search for themes in here and just kind of test out, what the motion is. That might give. Sometimes just finding cool video footage is good motivation to get the creative juices flowing and give you some ideas of different types of type that you can animate. The words that you create, they need to also relate contextually somehow to the background. So like in the bike scene, I used the word click, and then I made it be a part of the pavement, and then by the scene, the fact that the type interacts with the environment, and is in motion, with the bike, like it's racing the bike. So they have some sort of a relationship with each other. And so, that's the assignment. And make sure that the sound also fits contextually. And that's it. So, you guys have any questions? All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoy working on this assignment. I'll see y'all Thursday. And some of you tomorrow.